Welcome back to Mastering Menopause. Today we're going to be talking about bloating while you are traveling. This is something that happens to me a lot. And so there are some things that you can do to prevent it, and then there are some things that you can do that happens when it happens. So first thing first is I have done a bit of traveling. I went to Mexico and recently to Sedona, and both times whenever I travel, I tend to get bloated. Now, I will say that I do have a food intolerance. I cannot have black pepper, and so that makes going out to eat a little bit challenging. Like when I go out to eat, I try to avoid it, but I can't always do that. So a lot of times when I go out to eat, I will get bloated. But particularly with travel, I don't know if it's just, I know it's the stress of the travel, because that's like the underlying thing that's going on with your gut, is like you're setting up that environment to be very reactive. And then the things that happen, like cabin pressure, like when you're flying, but it's just the rigmarole of traveling itself that causes that stress environment for my body. And when I'm traveling, I make sure that I am bringing certain products. So the first thing that I am throwing into my bag is super enzymes. I use these. I just get these from Amazon. It's the Now super enzymes. These are digestive enzymes, and this is going to help break down the foods that I am having. I will say in Mexico, everything was loaded with pepper. There was nothing that I could do about it. We're at an all-inclusive resort. There was just no way for me to avoid the pepper, so I took the digestive enzymes, but it didn't really help with that. So like taking the preventative measures for sure is going to be helpful, but in some cases, there's just no way that you're going to be able to avoid it if you have a food intolerance. Now, I will say that having alcohol on top of having the foods that I can't have was a recipe for complete bloating. And I could have made the choice to not have alcohol, but that wasn't the choice that I made. Now we have to look at what happens when you actually get bloated. And so for me, I take, what is it? The brand that I take is Gas-X. Actually, I do the generic as well. So that is simethicone, and that will help with the bloating. And so when I find myself in that position, and I'll know, like within 15 minutes of me having something that has pepper in it, I will get completely bloated. There are some other things that I'm intolerant to as well that I try to avoid: FD&C yellow number 6, and then chickpeas. I can't have chickpeas. So I make sure to avoid those, which I love them. It's really hard to avoid the black pepper, unfortunately. So when that happens, then I will take usually 2 pills of the simethicone. I will tell you, when I came back from Mexico, I was so bloated. I was bloated like all the time, every single meal. And so I was taking that so I'd be bloated and then not bloated. And it was just like up and down and just really uncomfortable. When I got home, I had to restock on all of my stuff. And I bought Phazyme, which is like a extra strength simethicone. And when I went to Sedona, I had the same experience. So there was pepper in the meals that I couldn't avoid. It was also like a lot more fattier meals than I was used to. So that was doing a number on my digestion. I think going there, it was a 5.5 hour drive, and I literally was getting bloated going through the mountains. But I think it was also the stress of, oh my God, who's going to be there? And am I going to be the first one there? And am I going to be the oldest one there? There was definitely a lot of, I wouldn't say anxiety, but a little bit of stress that I put on myself about going to this event. I hadn't done something like this, of this nature. There's like all of these things that go into bloating. It's not just like this one thing generally. But back to the point, I bought the Phazyme, and this did not work for me. It did not work as well as my little green Gas-X pills. Duly noted, and I don't think there is anything wrong with Phazyme. I just think that Gas-X has always worked for me. And then I use the generic brand as well. I will say, because I was so bloated from Mexico, I bought this Ollie product knowing that I was going to be going to Sedona and probably having the same thing again. It's called Beat the Bloat. It has digestive enzymes, dandelion, ginger, and fennel. I know ginger is so good for your digestion. I will tell you guys, don't bother with this. This didn't do anything for me, to be honest. But again, like, I was desperate. I'm looking at all this stuff and I'm like, okay, let me just try this. I knew too. I'm like, yeah, maybe ginger and dandelion extract will work, but it really didn't. So I will say, to save your money if you're getting something like this. But super enzymes tend to work, or I should say digestive enzymes will help with breaking down the foods and then just trying to avoid and then adding fuel to the fire, honestly. So for me, I'm going to try to avoid pepper as much as possible. But in Sedona, the meals were a lot more fatty than what I would normally eat. And I'm not against having a steak or kielbasa or anything like that, but it was like almost every meal was a little higher fat. On some meals were a lot higher fat than what I would normally have at home. I don't know what was in the meal. I didn't track it. I have no idea. But I will say, by the last night, like, it was a higher fat meal for lunch. And then we had for dinner, I knew this was going to be a problem. I knew it was. So we had sausage. Now, there's certain sausages that I can't have. One of my intolerances is pork. I cannot have a Corando ham. Like, weird. I can have bacon, but I can't have a Corando ham. I avoid ham at all costs. Like, for me, I'm not having a ham and Swiss sandwich. So I avoid ham. I don't know if it's because of the processing that it's going through, but so pork can be a problem for me sometimes, but not all the time. Like, I can have pork chops, so I haven't really cracked the code on that. I will tell you, I had a test done. It's like the MTHR test done, where I sent 7 vials of blood, and then they saw what foods am I intolerant of. This test was not cheap. This was about $600, and this was, gosh, I want to say this was I was 47, so 10 years ago. Because when I was going through perimenopause, like, again, it threw me through a loop and completely changed my digestion in my body. And this is when I really started seeing things that I just couldn't have. Like, I was getting extremely bloated. And that's when I figured out the foods that I am intolerant to. I know that there's a test that you can do from Everly Fit, something like that. I don't know. It's $100. I did that. It didn't really come up with anything it didn't come up with the foods that I'm intolerant to. It did not nail down the black pepper. Oh, another weird one is ibuprofen. Like, what? Like, how? What? Why would that be on my radar at all? FD&C yellow number 6 are my big ones. Ibuprofen, a coffee, but I believe it's the mold that's in coffee. So there's certain coffees I can't have. Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts tears me up. I can have Newman's Own organics, and then Pete's. I love Pete's. I try to stay in my lane, but there's going to be times when I'm just going to have the coffee and I'm like, I'm going to take my chances on this if this is going to make me bloat. So that's like the way it goes. But knowing what you're intolerant to is definitely helpful. And I just would not have been able to figure that out on my own, especially like with the black pepper and roll coffee for sure. And what else? Chickpeas. Like, I would not have known that. And so when I was like at the height of my, like, really on the struggle bus, like, I would get ready for work, and before work I would have a salad. This is what my basic bitch salad. And I heard black pepper was great for digestion. So I'm like, yes, I'm sprinkling black pepper on my salad and chickpeas on my salad. And then when I got to work, I would have a French roast coffee. And then from there, so I would already be bloated. So this would be like right before I get to work, I'd have that salad. I can already feel the rumblings, and then I'd have the coffee, and then literally didn't realize, boom, like my belly would just explode. I'm like, what is this? I just didn't know. And with that was like there's different degrees of bloating and what's going to happen to your belly. And so there's going to be certain things. Yeah, this is graphic, but like the coffee would just make me fart. Like it was ridiculous. Like I'd have to like just leave. And I'm like, oh my God, like I have to fart. We're not doing that behind the bar. But I know it was just such a weird thing. Like it was just so uncomfortable anyways. So this was 10 years ago when I got this test done. And so I know what to avoid. And if you think you might be intolerant of foods, like the best way to look at that is just like within 15 minutes, like what is happening. So I think people look at like the common irritants, but it might not be that. Like it could have been like, maybe I had a piece of pizza and I would blame like the crust, the gluten on that, where it was the pepper that was in the sauce or whatever, or the ham that was on the pizza. So it's hard to pinpoint your intolerances, but that is one way to do it, is just look at 15 minutes after you eat, like what's going on, and then take a diary and then try to figure out the common denominator. But so this is what happened in Sedona is I would have, oh, that's right. So I think, so that the last meal that I had was jambalaya, and it was rice with paprika, which is another form of pepper. We had, oh gosh, what was it? It was, I want to say it was, it was sausage, which sausage in and of itself, like the one of the main ingredients would be a pork, but also pepper, like the spiciness of that. And then I forgot what the other meat was. We did have another meat. I think it was like chicken thighs or something like that. So definitely heavy on the pepper. And then paprika, like I didn't really put that together, but that was like, this rice was so damn good. I was like, yes, oh my God, I love this. I knew, I'm like, this is a recipe for disaster, honestly, for me. But I had it, and then sure enough, I was the most bloated that I had been in a long time. And again, it was that combination of pepper in the sausage and the pork and stuff like that. So we did not have any alcohol over that weekend in Sedona. So I didn't have that to add in there. So it was just super uncomfortable. And then like literally right after that, we did it's called a high energy healing. And so normally when I get bloated like that, the first thing I want to do is I want to go for a walk. So first things first, right? I knew that this was happening, that this was going to happen. And so I did take the Phazyme, and then that just didn't work. That wasn't working for me. So I figured that out. And then normally I would go for a walk. So I call it like a fart walk. Sorry. But it's like after I have a meal, then I will go for a walk, and I'm going to wiggle my hips a little bit like for that walk and just work out some of that gas. And there's also, you can do like happy baby. I'm going to be honest with you. I did not do happy baby, but you could do like a twisting pose. You could do like a standing chair pose where you're like twisting and you go side to side. So that kind of helps work it through. And then I had the enzymes already before, like throughout that day I had it. It just didn't help in this particular instance. But I will say, as long as you can try and avoid some of these things that you are intolerant to, and then do these 3 things, take the super enzymes, and then if you are having a reaction, take the simethicone, and then go for a walk. That's going to help with the bloating once it happens. Because once it happens, it's like, all right, how do I get rid of it? So literally, I was in a period of like dealing with the bloating, being bloated, and then trying to unbloat. And just giving you my experience of that and some of the things that I have tried in case this is something that you are reactive to as well. I do have a masterclass that's coming up on the 19th. So that's going to be a Monday at 7 p.m. EST. I always say EST, even though I'm MST, because I don't think people understand what MST is. Like when I was EST, I'm like, MST, what the hell's that? I knew EST, CST, and PST. So I'm going to dive deeper on bloating. It's called the Bloated AF workshop. How you can help yourself with feeling always bloated in menopause. Your digestion absolutely changes as we get older. So there are some things that you can do. So I'm going to talk way more in detail about that on the masterclass, but I did promise to tell you last Monday what to do when you get bloated from traveling. So that's very specific as far as that goes. I mean, we still had the same underlying issues, right? The stress, I think, is like the main piece. And then how is your body going to react as we're going through that? Traveling, I don't know. Like, I travel a lot, but it's still freaking stressful, right? Getting there. Are you there on time? And where's my gate? And then you're like delayed. And oh my God, if I have a connecting flight, am I gonna make it? And then like when you get there, you still have to drive. Like, it's a freaking hassle. It's stressful. Traveling, like, it almost always jacks up my digestion. And so I know, like, when I go to Cape Cod, I'm going to go for a photo shoot on June 24th. And so I'm going to fly. I got to fly out there. So I'm going to fly out on Friday to make sure that my body like settles before Monday. But if you want to join the masterclass, I highly recommend it because I'm going to be giving you a meal plan to help you just de-bloat and just feel 5 pounds lighter with this protocol. So I'm going to be giving that on that call. I am not going to be giving it out in the replay. You guys are going to get the link for that. You have to be on the call, and I'm going to walk you through what that protocol looks like so that you can just clear out the gunk and get that digestion going again. So that's going to be a different, like very much more involved than what we just talked about. But I will tell you, and I'm sorry, I don't have the simethicone that I usually use. It just looks like Gas X, but it's like the generic one. It's right next to Gas X. I bought the Phazyme. It's like the purple one. It didn't work for me, but this is the picture of the digestive enzymes that I use. And these are cheap, right? This was like 90 capsules. I don't remember how much it was, but maybe $10, maybe $12 for this on Amazon. I probably spent like $30 on this. I'm pretty sure I spent $30 on this Beat the Bloat shit from Ollie. I was desperate. I'm like, and for me, the more expensive it is, the more convinced I am that it's going to work. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to get this. Right? That's always been like my mindset. I don't know. So that didn't work, but get the Gas X and just the regular one. I think it's 5 milligrams is what the dosing is. And you have to be careful. So make sure that you read the precautions on that. This is just what I take. This is what works for me. But I also know you're not supposed to take too much of that either. And you know what? I don't even know why. I should have looked that up before, but it does caution you with the Phazyme one, it said not to take more than 2 a day. So I was like, okay, interesting. But if this works, then I'll just have to take one for my lunch and one for my dinner, and it'll be amazing. It just didn't work that way. So I don't know what the side effects are. You'll have to look that up. I am going to definitely look that up before I talk about this. I don't think we're going to just talk briefly on the masterclass about what happens, how to prevent it and what happens after. So I will be talking a little bit in detail about that on the masterclass, but this is going to be more on how can you just tweak your diet and what there's like a protocol that you can take to really just bring down that bloating. So that's going to be the bulk of what I'm going to be talking about on that masterclass. All right, so Monday I will give you a little bit of update on what's going on with the photo shoot. Some exciting things are happening, dropping some body fat for sure, and then I'm getting my refeed. There was on Friday, which is going to be tomorrow, is when I'm going to be assessing whether I'm going to be taking that refeed or not. I already know, yes, I am. I am going to be taking that refeed on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. I have already worked out my calories for Saturday. And it's for one day. I'm going to definitely make some tweaks to that. I'm not just going to keep repeating that. I'm going to take advantage of the fact that I get to have 2,600 calories, 450 grams of carbs. Do you know how hard it is to get in 450 grams of carbs and then limit the fats? I will tell you, it's actually not that hard. It's just like you have to change the mindset, like I knew. So lots of fruit, dried fruit, pasta, like yes, like I'm so excited. So I will share more on that journey. If you're interested in seeing what that looks like, I'm going to be posting screenshots tomorrow of my weekly update, how much weight I've lost so far, inches, body fat percentage, and then what does my refeed look like. I'm going to definitely give you some pictures of that. All right, my friends, I will talk to you on Monday. I hope that you have a happy Mother's Day. Have a great weekend, and I will see you soon. Bye.